This is Towards Understanding. You're with Clayton Gallen. We love the idea of what this program is about because we get to sort of dive deep onto a topic. We get to really explore an issue well or someone's story well, all in the intent that we head towards a better understanding of someone else's perspective or God's part in our life or a different aspect of what culture is, the way that we can interact. And so in all of that, it is such a joy to be able to have a chat to the National Director of Jesus Club. Josh Reid joins me. G'day, Josh.
G'day, Clayton. Thanks for having me on the show. It's a real privilege.
Oh, it's wonderful to have you. Look, before we sort of deep dive a bit more into Jesus Club, we're going to get into that. What's sort of the 15-second summary when someone says, "Oh, I've got to run." Just tell me quickly what it is.
Yeah, sure. Jesus Club is a program that any church can run that helps any church connect with adults with intellectual disability and teach them the Bible.
Wonderful summary of what it is. So let's dive deeper into it. First of all, how did it come about? Where's the genesis of Jesus Club come from?
Yeah, so the background of Jesus Club goes back about, I think it might be even like 17 years now. It was started by a lady, Dr. Mel Fung in Sydney. And she had a heart for people with intellectual disability. She had family and friends. And she saw a huge gap where the church wasn't connecting with anybody with an intellectual disability, and certainly not focusing on teaching them, what the Bible actually says. And so she started a bit of a program that got picked up by about 5 or 6 other Sydney churches, I think Anglican churches all at the time. And then since then it's spread across New South Wales, into Victoria, into Tasmania, and we're talking to people in Brisbane, the Gold Coast and Perth and Adelaide at the moment. And we have 3 Jesus Clubs in Singapore. So it started as a way of teaching the gospel message to people with intellectual disabilities in a way that they can understand. And it's done in a real fun way, and it's kind of spread out from there.
I just love the heart for where that is and where it's gone. It's wonderful. Take us through a little bit of what a sort of a typical Jesus Club is. Is it, meeting once a week, and what happens at those sorts of things?
Yeah, so a normal Jesus Club, firstly, it's a ministry of each and every local church. So we're not starting franchises. We help churches to start their own club. We say, look, we've got a proven method. We've got lots of resources. Probably, don't reinvent the wheel. There's no need to, but you run it as your own ministry. So say in any local church that runs a Jesus Club, they'll usually meet fortnightly on a weekday night. Might be similar to when you might schedule a youth group. And it includes games and music and singing, a Bible message, a discussion group, and then the highlight of the evening for most of the members of these Jesus Clubs is supper afterwards.
That's always tends to be the highlight, whichever group you go to, is the supper after.
Yeah.
So you said that the idea is that it actually sort of it engages on a local church sort of idea. From the Jesus Club, and you're the national director, is it that there's about sort of a training that you're providing for a local church? Is it about sort of spreading the message, the key idea? What's the part that you're sort of playing in your team?
Yeah, so our, central support office is incredibly small, and we've kept it very small on purpose. Some years ago, we had an opportunity to sort of put on a lot of staff, but it had, with any funding comes strings, and we actually said no to that. We wanted to keep the central office really small and have it volunteer powered, like it is, with about 300 volunteers in about 30 different churches around Australia and Singapore at the moment. And yeah, essentially, what we do is we have comprehensive orientation training. So that's in a manual, and we also have a video training series, which we actually developed during the multiple COVID lockdowns. And now that we've got that there, we have the orientation training, we have ongoing support, we have over 100 Bible lessons that are written by theologians and experts in disability to teach the gospel to adults with intellectual disabilities. And we also provide ongoing support through our Club Mentor program. And we also have a conference once a year, usually in October, that traditionally it's been hosted physically in Sydney, but we also live stream it. So we've had people tune in to that from all over the world the last couple of years. But yeah, as far as training goes, we keep it very simple. We don't like to overcomplicate it. We don't kind of insist that churches jump through all the many hoops that you can with, setting up anything for people with disability. Like, we don't insist that churches expand their disabled toilet door 2 inches to come up with, the new standard that, came in place, a couple of weeks ago. We just say, if you've got a heart for people with an intellectual disability and you don't quite know where to start, or you don't want to reinvent the wheel, that's where Jesus Club comes in. We'll give you a proven program that's been proven to work. We give you the templates, we give you marketing material, we'll give you comprehensive orientation training, access to all of our resources, and access to a whole lot of professional development for all the volunteers, which is about, I think, 7 or 8 years of videoed conference talks. So there's a fair bit that we bring to the table when a church says, yes, we want to start a new Jesus Club.
Could you share a couple of stories, and understand you might not be able to use people's names? That's perfectly okay. But we always love hearing some stories of the impact of, what it means to come along to a Jesus Club.
Yeah. Definitely plenty of stories. Some of them don't just involve the members of the Jesus Club, like the adults with intellectual disabilities. Certainly, they also involve the parents and carers, and families of the people, and it also affects the volunteers who are leading the Jesus Club. It affects them. In fact, what we're often after is we want adults with intellectual disabilities to know Jesus and to, be friends with God forever. We want the volunteer leaders of these Jesus Clubs to grow in their relationship with Jesus Christ as they serve in this, sort of often overlooked type of ministry. And we want the family and friends to know Jesus and grow as well. Certainly, I'm thinking of one club in Wollongong, in New South Wales, where I actually live. And there was a mum there who isn't a Christian. She was a bit hesitant about bringing her adult daughter along, but the daughter wanted to go due to some other friend connections. The daughter went in, just loved it. And the thing that the mum really commented on was she was just overwhelmed with joy of how much all of the leaders who are volunteers at this church club just loved their daughter, and genuinely wanted to be with her. And so that's now opened her heart up to receiving the gospel. And we hear that sort of story quite often from parents. They're just amazed that all these people are essentially doing this for free because they love Jesus, and it turns out they actually love the sons and daughters of the parents. I think it's remarkable, Clayton, to them because generally, if an adult has an intellectual disability, they're on the NDIS scheme. Everybody in their life, besides their mum and dad and their siblings, are paid to spend time with them. And there's different levels of intellectual disability, of course. Some are severe, some are very mild. But the feeling that, or the feedback, in fact, that we often get from people in the Jesus clubs is that it dawns on them fairly early that that all of these people in the church really must love them because they're doing this for free. And that's different to all the other people who I'm sure have great hearts as well, that are funded by the NDIS, but the Jesus clubs aren't. And so there's just this difference in mindset, and it's quite astounding to the parents that people would actually want to spend time with their adult children who, from the parents' point of view, the parents have raised these children pretty much feeling rejected from society, rejected from churches, rejected from mothers' groups, not invited to parties, all of that sort of thing, because their child is too difficult.
I love that is an important part of it. I would never have thought of that, but of course that is part of that I'm sure that for so many, it's great they've got people there, but to know someone, well, it's not a paid thing. They just love me. This is what it is, and they've got something important to share. What a remarkable thing. If there is a church who wants to sort of actually get involved in a Jesus club, what sort of questions would you be saying, hey, these are the things you should be asking yourself before you sort of launch into actually doing something like this? Yeah,
questions for a church to ask themselves before launching into a Jesus club or a disability ministry. Firstly, what's the motivation? I mean, I think most pastors, most church ministers would, that they generally want more people in their church. That's pretty much a given. And they want the people in their church to grow deeper in their understanding of their relationship with Jesus Christ and to live out a Christian life. So I guess the question would be, most Jesus clubs are not run by paid ministry staff. Sometimes there might be multiple ministers in a church, and so maybe one particular minister is assigned to kind of oversee the Jesus club or at least get it started. But most of the Jesus clubs are run by keen volunteers. So the question is, have you got available volunteers who can lead? Have you got people who have a heart for the vulnerable, a heart for people that are overlooked in our society, a heart for people who may not be able to communicate with words, a heart for people that might be seen as a bit too difficult to work with? If you've got somebody like that or a few people like that in your church, that would be a question I would be asking. Who have I got? Have I actually got people that have a heart for people with, well, in the case of Jesus Club particularly, people with intellectual disabilities? Another question they might ask is, what expertise do we have? And my answer to that would be most Jesus clubs start without having anybody in their church who's a trained disability support worker or a trained OT or anything like that. Most Jesus clubs will start with a keen volunteer or a keen minister who has a passion or a heart, just a burning desire to work with people with intellectual disabilities. So what we do as Jesus Club, kind of the central support organisation, we provide all that training. We provide that initial orientation training, ongoing support through our club mentor program, annual conference, and pretty much just on the end of the phone or an email. We are surrounded by experts in some experts in the theology of disability, experts in general disability around Jesus Club. We have people on our board who all have lived experience with disability, some with theological qualifications. So we've usually got an answer to provide, but you don't actually need to be an expert yourself. You can just be a normal, ordinary person. To me, the only requirement really is, have you actually got a heart for people who are vulnerable?
The other way that I know people might be able to support and help is say, well, okay, I might be able to ask questions of my church, and we might consider that. But I know that you also certainly take donations in support of the work of Jesus Club as well, and I believe it's also tax deductible. So how much reliance do you have on donations coming in versus, do you get government funding? How does all that work?
Yeah, no, because we're evangelistic, and the heart of Jesus Club is, the main point of Jesus Club is actually communicating the gospel message. We don't get government funding for that, and so we are heavily reliant on donations. Recently, we've asked some of the churches who hosted Jesus Club to put in like $1,000 a year. Some of them have started to do that, but not all of them. And frankly, not all of them are going to be able to. Like there's a very small club in a northern Tasmanian town called Wynyard. They're never going to be able to put in that sort of money. There's some that are, a church of 30 people. And so they just don't have that sort of funds. So it's kind of a guideline that we have, but like 90+% of our funding is from mum and pop donations. Over the years, we've had a couple of larger amounts come in, but at the moment, it's pretty much just relying on people with a heart. And you're right, like some churches will go, yes, if you're in a church today and you're listening to this, you might go, oh, wow, okay, something just jumped in my spirit. We need to start that at our church. But it's not for every church. It's not going to be, something that every church wants to take on. But every church can pray for it. Every church could support it financially as part of their mission giving. And even if you can't do anything else, certainly any monetary donation, which is tax deductible, is a huge help to us as we continue to grow, actually.
So if you'd like to do that, jesusclub.org.au, pretty easy website to get to, jesusclub.org.au. Josh, thank you for heading this up. Thank you for the encouragement, for the clear passion you have for the remarkable work that it is involved. We hope that there are people across the country as they're listening saying, well, I want to get involved in this. Here in New Zealand, I want to do this, or here in Australia, I want to add something, I want to be involved, and that they connect in and maybe also support. jesusclub.org.au. The National Director, Josh Reid, my guest. Josh, thank you so much.
Thank you, Clayton.
This is Towards Understanding.